Hey everybody, 10-minute Leaders Live. This is the XL show. My name's Graham Brown. Something different now. We're going to venture into the world of technology and, importantly, how it's changing. More importantly, artificial intelligence. To do that, to unpack that world. Curtis Boyd joining us all the way in the studio from Los Angeles. Curtis, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
All right, so we got 10 minutes together. 10 minutes is not enough to talk about AI, but we'll do our best, right? We'll give a 101 and a walkthrough, what's changing and why we need to understand this world a lot better. There's a lot of myths and hype about AI, obviously. So let's unpack some of that. So we've got 10 minutes. Are you ready, Curtis?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right. 10 minutes on the clock with Curtis Boyd starting now. Curtis, what is on your business card?
Yeah, founder of Objection.co. We're a reputation company that specializes in detecting fake reviews for businesses and consumers.
Wow. Straight off the bat, I'm interested. Fake reviews. How big is this? Not your business, but how big is the market?
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. In 2020 alone, Google disclosed on their blog they removed 55 million legitimate reviews in just 2020. That's 160,000 fake reviews per day. If you were to give it an average price of $10 to $20 per review, multi-billion-dollar fake review industry just on Google, not Yelp, not TripAdvisor, not Amazon, just Google.
Just on Google reviews.
Yeah, just on fake Google reviews.
Where are the biggest volume of fake reviews? I know Google, you've just mentioned. I can imagine Amazon, Yelp must be huge by a factor of X, right?
Yeah, I mean they're giant they're the world's largest marketplaces, and when it comes to wanting to build consumer confidence and getting revenue and sales, fake reviews are very profitable. So yeah, unfortunately, our marketplaces are saturated with fake reviews, and there isn't a place that doesn't have fake reviews. There's fake reviews everywhere. It's a systemic problem.
Is it a case where there are a group of nefarious actors driving all of this, or is it generally that you have, here's a merchant, they're desperate to get rankings on their merchandise and therefore they'll pay for this stuff? What tends to be the user case with fake reviews?
Yeah, the people who sell them would sell anything as long as they could, sell it, right? Because there's a market for it. There's such a big market for it. They fulfill that need. The need comes from mostly America and the USA, fake reviews, in our competitive marketplace. You have these companies that want to compete with long-standing businesses who have been in business 30, 40 years, and a startup company can purchase several hundred fake reviews, spend $1,000, and at face value compete with that long-standing company having the same number of reviews and the same star rating. And so a consumer, they can compete with these older companies. So consumers are having a hard time choosing what is the better choice because of the saturation of fake reviews.
So before Objection came along, how did we manage fake reviews? What was the process? There was a guy who went in and just had to read every single one of them? Was it as rudimentary as that? So what's your superpower in Objection? What are you doing differently?
Yeah, so I think it's NLP, which is natural language processing. NLP allows computers to understand our language by understanding the relationship between words. For NLP to work, you gotta, tokenize words. I'm sorry, looks like the Amber Alert here. In order for NLP to work, you got to tokenize words, which means assign a numeric value for a word within your corpus, which means like the, and it'll be like the number 1, and then king might be letter number 2, and then what is the relationship between the and king? Well, we have these transformers like BERT, GTP3, and other amazing NLP models, which have predefined the relationships between these words for us. So that being said, computers can break down our language and understand what the relationship between these words are, so that now we can ask it fancy questions like, what is the similarity between review A and review B? What is the similarity between review A and review C? For us, if we have a similarity threshold that's high enough, we kind of look at that as a similar author. If you have a business with 100 reviews, there should be 100 authors. using NLP, we can segment and cluster reviews that we believe are authored by the same person using multiple profiles.
So you're using NLP and machine learning libraries to identify similarities between reviews. And that could be real, these could be genuine similarities, or there may be, as you are identifying, it's too good to be true. You can't have one person authoring all of these reviews.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're identifying and flagging as suspicious?
Yeah, every human being has their own unique writing style, their own unique use of grammar, their own lexicon. It's like the vernacular, like the number of the words that we tend to use when we write. And NLP is really good at identifying authorship style. So if you have 100 reviews, you should have 100 authorship styles. And we've been really good at identifying which transformers like BERT are good at identifying authorship styles so that we can cluster these fake reviewers together. On top of that, we can look at behavior, right? Where else have these reviewers reviewed? Are they reviewing, organic types of businesses, like one restaurant, maybe a shoe store, maybe another restaurant, maybe a doctor? Or are they reviewing 9 doctors in a row? So we look at category diversity, we look at price diversity, we look at the distances between all the businesses. There's a lot of behavior analytics that go into it as well. Yeah.
Is there a risk that on the other side that the fake reviewers employ the same technology that you're using to unearth them? Because if they understood, I mean, it's a bit like knowing the Google algorithm. If you understand how it works, you can use it. That's why they don't release it. So in the same way, they could use GPT-3 or BERT to make it look authentic.
Yeah. It's always going to be a game of cat and mouse, right? I mean, the cat's going to chase the mouse is going to get smarter. And so the mouse has got to evolve. And in this case, the cat has just got to get better at catching mice. So I don't see a way that I'm aware of to just end review fraud like immediately. I think it's always going to be a thing, and that companies just need to do their best to get rid of it to protect consumers. On Friday, we were featured in the Washington Post about fake doctor reviews. And in the article, it talks about where we purchased our data set. I actually purchased our data set from people who sell fake reviews for a living. I contacted them and I said, hey, I need fake reviews. And they're like, okay, how many? What's your business? And I'm like, no, I don't need fake reviews for my business. I need fake reviews for my machine learning. And they're like, what? No, we're not going to give up our customers. And I'm like, come on, how big of a check do you need? And I ended up getting through to them. I ended up being able to write them a check large enough to where they sold out 500,000 profiles with many more reviews on those profiles to train our machine learning models to say, this is what fake behavior looks like. This is what fake content looks like. This is what it looks like in the big scheme of things. And then that way we could compare it against a real review data set. So by having these two types of data sets that are labeled, it's really easy to examine new reviews that are fresh and try and see which way it sways towards which data set.
What have you learned in this process yourself? So when you started out on this journey, trying to understand the mechanisms and the behaviors and the fingerprints of fake reviews, if you like, and now after buying 500,000 profiles and running your algorithms over those and extracting the data and learning it, what are those kind of like light bulb moments? What have you seen? Like, wow, I didn't know that when I started out in this process.
The majority of fake reviews are positive. At first I thought they'd be a little bit more negative. Most fake reviews overwhelmingly are positive. A few other things that we learned are about the industries that are purchasing the most, at least in this data set. I mean, we don't have access to every data set, but 500K is a big enough data set to understand the types of industries that are frequently purchasing reviews, and trying to understand like the type of language that they use to convince buyers to purchase with them, to convince consumers to move forward with them. So another thing we try and understand is like, what are the other contextual similarities within the reviews? Like what types of frequently occurring patterns or can we see that can give it away a little bit more? So we're always trying to pull out like common denominators, so to speak, out of these data sets. And every week we normally do pull out a new one, which is exciting. We're up to, 34 or 35 various metrics. that we use.
Yeah, it's a fascinating insight, not into just AI, but also human behavior and the drivers behind that as well.
Yeah.
What do you find? Like, I mean, last question is when people think about artificial intelligence, natural language, machine learning, I mean, we haven't really even talked about GPT-3, which is a major game changer as well. But
Yeah.
that's going to be obviously a key conversation topic in the next few years as well. What do people get wrong when they talk about? I'm sure over dinner conversations, people say, "Oh, I've got an opinion about this, about robots and AI, because you're in this space, and this is what I think." What are the general misconceptions people have about this?
Um, you know, I I think a lot of people presume that that right now AI is like really easy to use and is taking over the internet. Don't get me wrong; it is a relatively easier to use, but it's still in a place where it's still in its infancy. And honestly, like it, while there are new algorithms that Google's coming out with, like MUM, which is supposed to be even 1,000 times more powerful than GTP3, it's not at the point where if you think of the um, it's still easy to identify bot content versus human content. Like
Mm.
even GTP3 content is amazing, but it's still detectable. Like we can still detect bot content. So I think that a lot of people are worried about AI taking over the world and computers kind of taking off yet. That that kind of stuff. It's like it maybe in the future if we're not really smart about the way that we control it, but right now humans are still very much still trying to figure out how to maximize the use of AI and how to get it optimizing our systems, including reviews and the detection of fake reviews.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and I'm even fascinated by this idea of mum. 1,000 times more powerful than GPT-3. That's part
Yeah.
two. We've got to do a follow up on that because
Yeah.
the reviews that those guys are going to be producing is going to be very hard to detect. Wow, Curtis, thank you so much. Curtis Boyd, everybody from Objection. Where do we find out more about you?
Yeah, my LinkedIn. I have lots of information on what I do and about my background. And if anyone wants to start a conversation about fake reviews, I'm happy to chat.
Awesome. Curtis, thanks for joining us today. It's been a real interesting insight into the world of authenticity and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. Don't take things at face value online.